All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Friday, January 7th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, of course. And to close things out for the week, welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Chuck, always first the punch. There we go, typing at the bell loud and clear. From Mike, from Norm, from Leda, as always, loud and clear. As always, a pleasure to see everyone here in this live trading room. And as always, great to see us on social media one last time, joining us on Facebook Live or YouTube. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. SPY's beginning to start that pullback. We were alluding to from the morning commentary. Ended up dropping off from the morning, ended up beginning to make that 10:30 reversal time type of bounce. Well, it ended up making a pretty sharp bounce for what it's worth, and I was hopeful for at least, a hold and a potential afternoon run, but it goes to say, or it goes to show how this all works, right? Just if it's not going to break higher, if it's not going to make that move up, don't hold your breath for it, because at this point right now, it kind of seems like the SPY's beginning to trot back down. A bunch of stocks ended up continuing to pull back already heading into this afternoon. Right now, the HGSH trades on the screen to begin ended up making a pretty crazy pop right around 1 o'clock Eastern shortly after, from like 270 up towards the high there, 340. Went to test pre-market highs early from this morning, but now at this point, same to be said here. If it's not going to continue to push up higher, show higher lows, a higher high, then it's likely to unfortunately dump back down. So this HGSH stock, not as particular right now, especially with this big pullback for about 22 cents off the last peak. So for right now, I'll come back to this stock if I need to, but otherwise, we'll just go right from the top. Otherwise, we got another cheapie here, ONE1. It's up 27 plus percent. Where's my cursor here? There we go. Do so much sitting all week. I'm actually doing this meeting standing. But nonetheless, one ONE ended up making a nice pop upon the market opening up, but then came back down, flattened out. And that's just about it. I don't know what happened here on the daily chart. This catches my eye. Like, what the heck happened here? Ended up getting halted back from mid-October, and then they ended up reopening it just yesterday. It goes to show that we're not as interested in this type of stock, because I think this is the first time that I'm personally looking at it. I don't know if this was even called out in our live trading room from earlier today or yesterday, but we normally don't trade a stock below $1, and it's normally because they don't make these clean, concise moves, and this isn't even clean or concise. This is just a pretty wacky one, if anything. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if it shows better signs of life come Monday morning, I don't know, this afternoon, but come next week, I don't know if there's a better trend on it, then maybe, but we'll pass. MRIN, MRIN, ended up announcing some partnership with Amazon from earlier this morning, right? So we were pretty hopeful for a nice run up on this trade. We caught it. Ended up making for a nice run after the market opened up, broke under, and then back over its opening bell print right off of 432. Ended up pushing up beautifully from there. This was one of the better trades that we caught from the morning watch list, albeit it was pretty short-lived. We're not trying to scalp or, just take trades for like a 5 or 10 minute time frame. We just go with the flow. We go with the stock. And in this case, this shot up pretty quickly. And we know, at least with a fast pop, we're likely to at least get a pullback or some sort of consolidation shortly after. So on this trade, it ended up making a higher high up towards 5. But from there, that's when the volume died off. When the volume dies off, so does the stock. So ended up beginning to make that pullback. It ended up making basically like a head and shoulders here to a degree, a fatter right shoulder, perhaps right off of 475, but ended up dropping right back down. And at this point now, just history repeats itself. Look at the daily chart. After the big gap up that it made back in late September, ended up just like dropping back down. But all these other bigger candle days that you see, even dating back to like a week or like a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago here, just inconsistent. It's not going to keep moving back up, or it doesn't seem to be that case. So, don't try and look for it here. Right now, same to be said. Ended up popping in the morning, dropping in the afternoon. All right, so this G-Box stock, I mean, second time we've seen this stock in 2 days here, ended up making more of an afternoon push early on, but it was trading pretty light volume yesterday altogether. Today, at this time of the day, trading just about 1.8 million shares. Right now, it's pretty close to the high of the day currently, and the spreads are a lot better today. So for right now, I'll put this green box. I'll put this green box stock on our watch list here. I do not know the company. I don't know the news. We don't have class later on today. So you know what? I will check the news. I got a coaching session at 3 o'clock with one of our students, but Let me just quickly check the news here. I'll bring up Benzinga Pro if I can. Give me a brief moment here, folks. You know what? Actually, I'll make it pretty simple. I was going to drag this up on the screen for everybody to see, but it's actually a little laggy. I don't want to take too much time. But we'll look up the news on G-Box for right now, Green Box. Let's just see. I don't know. Looks like just earnings. That's pretty anticlimactic. It looks like they're trading higher after the company announced that its board of directors approved a substantial increase in the funds allocated for the immediate repurchase of the company's common shares. Initial sum of $10 million. All right, that's still a little anticlimactic, but nonetheless, I mean, hey, for right now, we'll put this on our watch list. It's actually beginning to make a bit of a lower high off the high here at 530. So I would say chop chop. This thing needs to make a pretty big pop soon here. Otherwise, we'll get the bigger pullback, perhaps down to 5 first. All right, so we'll keep it going though. In the meantime, did we skip over AACG? I feel like we skipped over AACG. Yeah, we did. All right, so this one looks pretty strong for the afternoon. I guess it was pushing up as we were going over that last one. But yeah, up over 21% currently. Right now, 258 is your biggest order on the TradeStation Matrix, at least. 242, but if it keeps pushing up 258, there could be some resistance there. That kind of seems to be near the highs that it made back from earlier this week. If you check on the daily chart back from Tuesday and Wednesday, 259. 264. All right, well, I guess there's kind of a reason as to why that order is at 258. It's only 5,300, but looking at all of the other orders on the offer, if it continues to push up higher from here, then that could be the next resistance. But yeah, for right now, either way, we'll put this on with the G-Box stock on the watch list. All right, so we'll keep going from here. SGLY will pass on Discovery, DISCA, and then there's a couple of others here. Just very choppy, at least now. Ended up making a pretty nice run from the market open. Pretty much shot up like a cannonball here. Ended up popping from like 27.50 all the way up towards 31 and change. But right now, though, this is looking just like a typical Friday afternoon for right now, folks. Just pretty slow, stagnant of a market. Yeah, it looks like the SPY's trying to wiggle back on up. Maybe it can break this trend off the highs, and if it does that, perhaps we'll get our bigger move up higher into the afternoon. ISIG, familiar name at least. We'll look at it pretty quick. It's starting to rev up, but I'm not fully sold on it just yet. ABSI, this has only been just dumping off here from the market open. So, as soon as we saw this breakdown below support from the opening bell print and $9, that was a wrap. So, I don't think anyone was in real danger of this stock once we turned away from it. But for right now, at least, I don't know. Maybe if it can make some sort of bounce off of 7, maybe off the pre-market low here, if it hasn't already broken below here. I don't know. I want to see if there's better opportunity in terms of a cleaner move up, like a stock that's near the highs heading into the afternoon. This only seems, if anything, if it doesn't hold from here 7, it's only going to continue to fill the gap on the way down. Familiar name, ATER. We'll look at this one pretty briefly. Ended up making a nice pop. I missed out on this trade from like the mid to late morning after 10 o'clock, 10:30. Then it went up, just tried to break higher, failed to do so, but nice trade. It's good to see this back in action, at least. This has been a stock that we had on our side list for a little while. Ended up making a big push going back into late September, early October here, then came back down like pretty much they all do. But yeah, I mean, just hey, for right now, we'll keep this in mind maybe for Monday next week if we happen to see strong pre-market activity. ASRT. I don't know if I need to go through all of these stocks on the gainer side here for right now. It's kind of like a slow Friday, right? AVCT, another familiar name. That's why I clicked on it at least. But it's trying to go. It's a few cents off from the highs. It's at 231 now. HOD is at 236. It's a little close. I'll come back to it at the end. Space up over 6.5%. It's pretty flat for right now. VIPs, some other stocks at least here at the bottom of the gainer side. Alcoa, AA, SEAC, familiar name. Lucid, skipped over that. Lucid was a better trade from the market open this morning. Ended up making a drop off, but then a beautiful pop right away after, like slingshot, to the highest level. Ended up breaking back over 39. Ended up breaking right over 40. Held that as support before lifting up higher from there. Right now, though, I mean, hey, it's tradable. If you do well on this stock on a day-to-day, you know who you are already. So, I'm sure that you'd be more inclined to put this on your watch list at that point. But otherwise, I'm going to pass. All right, we'll hop over to the loser's side here for right now. SYTA, not much happening here. All these are hard to borrow otherwise, unless if they're making a really strong dead cat bounce like we were hopeful for the dogs trade to do, the one from yesterday afternoon. That ended up actually making a beautiful dead cat bounce this morning. We were right place, wrong time on that trade, at least from yesterday, right? DOGZ. There we go. It was actually down much more this morning from where it had closed yesterday. It was down another 12, 13% pre-market. But man, it took a little while as well. But once the gears started turning the other way, and ended up getting halted like 3-4 times on the way up. And then from there, just, it was a wrap. But right place, wrong time, I guess we were yesterday on this trade, DOGZ. That's why you always want to look on the losers list, though, just because if there's any stock down big, more than that 50, 60% like this was, that's the type of squeeze that you hope for. SYTA, hey, it just doesn't seem like it's ready to make that big pop just yet. It's down enough. That's why I wanted to click on it at least here, but everything else doesn't seem to be that great. AEHR, it's shortable. Kind of near the lows, beginning to kind of drop back down a bit. We'll pass. Hey, folks, I'll tell you what, there are some stocks that are at the highs still. I'll take a look at an old friend by the name of US Steel X. I see that popping up on Benzinga actually right now. And man, I'll tell you, this is actually making a pretty good squeeze. Nice squeeze on US Steel for about 35 cents, and that's just off the breakout from 25. It's only up 2.5 or 2+%. But I like the trends. This could be something that could make a move with the market. And now if you look at my 5-minute chart, the S&P 500 ETF, the SPY, well, from where we started the meeting, it wasn't looking as clean. But, about 10, 15 minutes later, a really nice reversal here. Nice pop so far. We hope to see this go or continue to go. And should that be the case, we'll happen to see stocks like X go with it. I don't know if space necessarily there just yet. Maybe a NIO, starting to bounce. An airline like American Airlines, not really doing a whole lot just yet. Maybe not everything. CCL. All right. Well, I'll tell you, X looks pretty sharp here for right now as far as an afternoon trade. It's not up a whole lot, but making a pretty strong pop here. Just checking the chat board right now in Cyber Group. So it looks like Michael and Grant, you folks were on that there pretty early. 2:39 you were. From Norman Nicola. It's at the highs. It's up 4+%, just a little slow. I feel like X, I don't know what's going on with X. That's just why I'm more interested in this. It's just a sharper move. Nicola at the high, so I do like that, but just seems kind of slow for Nicola. We've seen that stock make some crazy moves in the past, and not always crazy, but sharp like X. And you want to see something like that happen. Hour here, new IPO, which I'm not always as particular about. It just broke higher, pulled back. It's trading a lot of volume, so that's the part that I do like about it. Trading over 42 million shares on its first day, so that actually looks pretty good. But it's just in this tight range. I don't know. I'll put it on our list. We don't got a big list here so far, so I guess for right now, in terms of stocks that are more compelling to watch, at least trading 42+ million shares, the spreads aren't that big just yet. A little spay up. Now they're getting big right as I'm talking. Geez, that was a pretty funny timing as well. I don't know if you saw the matrix there, just flashed from like a penny to up. There you go. It's like 12 cents. But in terms of a more compelling trade to watch, put on our watch list, yeah, I guess we could put this on. If it wasn't trading as much volume, if it was even thinner on the order book, then I'd stay away for sure. But we'll just keep an eye on it. All right, so folks, if you got anything else for me, definitely let me know. And in the meantime, I'll bring up Bitcoin. I wish I waited an extra day because right now Bitcoin's continuing to drop. And I'm not worried about it long term. And I keep saying that, but I keep saying that I got time. This is completely different compared to my day trading where I'm not like trying to get out by the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month. I was hopeful by February time to have a beautiful peak, but we knew about a month ago that that was not going to be the case. So we had to kind of prepare for a bit of a pullback. And going back into a couple weeks ago, I was forewarning us for this to be a bit of a head fake and for this to pull back off of 51, 52. I was looking for support on Bitcoin around 44, 44 and a half. So much so that during the phase 3 stock course yesterday, when I saw this drop, I was like, holy smoke, or saw the drop towards 44 here, at least midway through. I bought. I was like, oh man, I have to buy some right here. I got in at 44.2 and it kept dropping, right? I wish I waited just a little bit longer, but nonetheless, it ended up actually beginning to fall a bit under this last peak that we had, the major peak back from early December. And for right now, I'd rather even jump into like not even a 6 hour chart. I'd rather jump into the daily and even the weekly. Hide that guy for right now, that EMA. All right, so we're getting close again to the 500 on the daily. The last time that we had this happen after all the hysteria from the last all-time high that we had, or the one back from April, 64, 65K, dropping all the way down to 32. Everyone worrying about, the future direction of it. In hindsight, very easy to look at this and say, well, the 500 held perfectly. And from there, are we going to get the same reaction? I don't believe so at this point. At this point now, I don't believe so. I wasn't even. I was hopeful to not even see the 500 EMA at this point. To see it around 44.5 and for a move back up from there. But at this point now, if it already kissed the 500 so well the first time, it could always happen a second time. But I feel like this go around, we're probably going to get more consolidation. And I say that now at this stage after seeing it drop below where I thought it would hold support. So that means that at this stage, we might happen to see this drop even below 40, maybe see this below around 39, 38, and then shake around from there. I'm just planning for that. It may even drop off more at this stage. Who knows? I always like to say to folks joining us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube for the first time, kind of watching me go over Bitcoin. I'm not trying to predict. I'm just trying to kind of go with the flow and certainly forewarn students from buying high. So, I thought I did a good job of that here, but now at this stage, drop it off more than I thought it would at least drop down to. So at this stage, let's react and go from there. I'm not going to buy any more at this point up until we happen to see some consolidation around the 500. Otherwise, if it ends up beginning to make a bigger pop from here, then maybe if I see support around that 44.5, then I'll buy from that point. But I'll kind of play it out, see one of the two happen. All right, so there we go. We got a little Bitcoin mixed in there as well. If there's anything else, folks, let me know here in the chat board. Checking my Benzinga Pro scanner here pretty quick. There's not much that's made a big move over the last 5 minutes or so. Nothing really at all, at least on the way up. Maybe see if there's any big moves down. Nope, either. Grant says F is moving. Let's see, that's usually a slower moving stock when it's not off of news or a good market direction. So if the markets continue to push up, perhaps we'll happen to see F make a better run into the afternoon. I'll keep it on the side list for right now. Hey, again, if you do well on Ford most days than not, or more trades than not, you do pretty well on Ford. Bill, you know who you are. No, of course, it's not just Bill, but it's other folks as well. But, hey, if you do well on Ford day to day, then, I'm sure that you'd be more keen to follow it perhaps. But DraftKings from Amy, same thing on this. Same exact thing. You could say that on so many stocks that are possible movers. Even my NIO, you could say the same on. Right? So I think for right now, folks, listen, it's Friday and, the whole week's been a little wonky, at least from the phase 3 stock course. We ended up having 3 really good classes, or I would say one slightly good class. We went 2 for 2 in that class, one bad class, and then two good classes otherwise. We locked up some profits in two classes pretty nicely. But they were on pretty difficult playing grounds. The market was pretty flat. It was dropping. We weren't able to find good long opportunities. And the short opportunity that we took on Palantir, although the market was dropping off, that was just choppy. So it didn't offer as much. So what I mean by that is, well, here into this afternoon to wrap up the week, there's only 3 stocks on our watch list. One of them is just an IPO that we're kind of just keeping a smaller eye on than anything. God forbid if that does show more direction, we'll look to try and jump on it at that point. But really, it's just the AACG and the GBox stock. That's it. If there's further direction in the market, then at that point you try and follow some of the side list stocks like Ford, Neo and airline or cruise line. Perhaps those aren't really doing anything right now at this point as well. But we'll see if there's anything cooking right around 3:15, 3:30, folks. All right, for all of us joining us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, I appreciate you joining me each and every day. The full day today, at least. I know the Fausto will be back on the horn, I believe, Monday. But if you have any other questions, feel more than free to send over a quick email to josh@c2trading.com. And then otherwise, for all of us, Ari, Grant, Amy, John, Bill, love that Ford. MRIN forming a cup and handle, testing 435. It's just, I feel more exhausted than anything though, Ari. It's trading over 69 million shares at this point, already popped and already dropped. We always see the second win type of move, and very rarely does it happen to lead to a whole new run up. So don't hold your breath waiting for that. And if that happens, then I will be glad to call it out at that point. But I'm just trying to tell you what happens more often than not. That is all. All right, folks. I'll be back on the mic right around 3:30 Eastern time to wrap things up for the end of the day. Take care.